Hi, everybody. Welcome to Souls Outside. So today we're going to start off by talking about types of questions that we're asking. Who, what, where, when, and why. Why, how, what. Talking about that. Then we'll bring on Rebecca White, who's the CEO of Engineers of Tomorrow, to share with us her journey from engineering outreach activities through engineering to now being the CEO of a not-for-profit, doing engineering outreach. And then she's going to share with us with one of her least favorite questions, one that I very much agree with her on, disliking it. We're going to talk about some different options you can ask instead. Check it out. Welcome to Souls Outside, where we're all about finding the trail to stay true to your path. We do this by inviting featured guests on every show to share with you how you can follow in their soul prints, so you can choose which trail maps you need to continue on your journey. My name is Shannon Pohl, and I'm loving having navigated my own pivot from engineering to now being a master results coach and hypnotherapist, plus a forest guide who loves getting outside so we can learn from the nature, foster stewardship, and really amplify our successes by being outside in nature. I'm so excited to have you join today's episode. Welcome to Souls Outside. Hello, everyone. So excited about today's episode of Souls Outside as we bring one of my friends, Rebecca White, onto the podcast, the video, whichever one you're watching on. Who's the CEO of Engineers of Tomorrow, which is an amazing not-for-profit that does outreach activities so that children know engineering exists, which I know for me would have been phenomenal when I was coming up through school, because I'm definitely one of those kids that I had no idea what an engineering does. I didn't know. I mean, maybe they drive a train. That really was the only thing I could have told you. My first outreach activity related to engineering, I guess we went to McMaster with our physics class. So maybe that counts. But really I'm thinking about once I'd already applied to a few schools, one of which was McMaster, where I ended up going. They did a weekend to trial out campus. I think it was Mac Entry. Oh, I don't remember. I was doing a counselor for it one year because camp stuff, yay. But that was really the first outreach activity I did, and I already decided to go into engineering, so some stuff earlier on would have been great. So stay tuned to listen to her. And before we invite Rebecca to join us, I want to talk a little bit about questions, because it's a little sneak peek into something we're going to talk about in today's third section, is the types of questions we ask. And so I know if you were like me growing up, it's probably in the schools still, we had the 5 W questions: who, what, where, when, why, and then somehow how got in there as the 6th question. And I remember that always being around stories. So whenever we were writing, creative writing class, writing stories, even if we were describing anything, it was about, who is it? What are they doing? Where are they? What, where are they? Why are they doing what they're doing? Why are they doing it? I might have mixed them up. Who, what, where, when, why, when. When are they doing it? And then how, because how is another good question topic. And so thinking about the 5 W's plus how, want to just focus in on why, how, and what. Because I find that, I know I've done it myself, I sometimes get stuck in this trap of asking what questions all the time. What are you eating for dinner? What are you doing today? What's on the agenda? What am I doing with my life? What? And what can be a very limiting question, unless you're actually asking just for specific data points. Often it, without giving anything away, Rebecca will mention this a little bit later about her question that she has a frustration with, which I happen to agree with her. But what can be very limiting to just a very narrow niche? Like what are you doing today? Going for a jog, living, I don't know. However, if we switch it to why are we doing stuff, then we become such more expansive, and that's how we can get into learning about each other and exploring and having conversations and sharing opinions. Because why are you doing things today? Ooh, why am I doing it? Well, maybe, if what I was doing was going for a jog, why is like, why am I going for a jog? Well, it's a nice day outside. It'd be nice to be out in the fresh air, feel the sun on my face, to get some exercise, move my body. Well, why do I need to move my body and get exercise? Well, I've been feeling a little sluggish lately, or maybe I've had a stiff muscle. And you can just go and tangent and, explore deeper into who and what we are as people, where we are, when we are. So why becomes this really expansive question, opening up our possibilities, which is why when people join in the programs that I facilitate, we start with like, why are you here? Not what prompted you to come today. Oh, my sister said I should. Why? Why are you here? Why did you decide to take time out of your day and come today and show up? Why are you listening? Why are you watching? What was it that sparked that curiosity that you're like, this would be worth half an hour of my time? Because it totally is. And still, why? For what purpose? Another way to ask that. Opening up that expansive thinking. So that's why expansive questions. What? Usually very detail oriented. And then how fits in there is my third, well, not my third. It's the third question we're going to talk about. My second favorite question to ask. Because again, it's opening up possibilities of if we're asking like, how can I do this? How could that work? How could that manifest? How could I? Sparks all these possibilities of like, I could do it this way or that way, or this way or that way, or this way or that way. Now which one do I choose? What do I choose? And which one do I choose first? Or which three do I choose? Because they kind of go in different directions. So even, souls outside. Why? No. So what am I doing? Well, I'm doing a podcast and a video, and, in a couple months, there'll be blog posts around all these episodes as well as we get that, that piece of the pipeline figured out. How am I doing souls outside? Well, that's video and audio, would be writing, and then I'm reaching out to people to see who people I know and other communities to come out and talk and share, and we're talking, we're sharing. However, why souls outside? We addressed it a little bit in the first episode, and why it's about bringing people together, fostering connections. Why bring on featured guests? Because there's so much knowledge. Other people, like, I know a lot of stuff. I'm brilliant and amazing, and I have amazing things to share. And so do other people. And by sharing that and inviting people up and fostering those connections, that we all grow and elevate ourselves. So that's why. And our first guest, our second episode first guest, was really what prompted it to start. Is I read her bio and wow, she's got such a cool story. Everyone should hear this. We need to amplify that voice and share it with more people so other people know that there's more people that have had some sort of pivot, have had some sort of moment where they thought they couldn't do it, and then they found that courage within to go for it. So that's a little bit more about why Souls Outside came into existence. So just thinking about our questions. Are we asking expansive, elevating, empowering questions, or are we asking little narrow questions that really limit us and focus us in on pieces where maybe we don't really need to be? Or maybe it's just not the time. Or maybe, I don't know, how do we mix it up? So think about the kind of questions we're asking. And we'll wrap up our first section here because I'd love to bring Rebecca White on because she's got an amazing story. And I'm super excited to dive into our third section where she shares one of her least favorite questions with us. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back, everybody. So today I have the pleasure to introduce you to Rebecca White, who is the CEO of Engineers of Tomorrow, a not-for-profit that I thoroughly love and encourage and support you all to look into it, either if you are an engineer or if you have a child that you think that might be a profession they want to explore. Um, and we'll hear more about that probably in a future episode. But today we're going to focus on Rebecca and her journey from a traditional engineering path to being the CEO of a not-for-profit. So welcome, Rebecca.
Hi, thanks, Shannon.
Thank you. And so really, if you could get us started off with your journey pieces, how, engineering to now.
Yeah. So, I mean, how far back do you want me to go? I can, I do like to tell the story of, I am a living, breathing example of the success of STEM outreach. Both of my parents were teachers, elementary school teachers. So I grew up with zero role models or influences when it comes to engineering. And yet somehow I decided to study engineering in school and have now become an advocate for the profession through the work that we're doing at Engineers of Tomorrow. But it goes way back to when I was about 9 years old, and my parents were very proactive and signed me up for this great new, at the time, brand new type of camp called Science Quest. These were in the days where you did more like traditional camping type camps or maybe a sports camp, but this was something totally new. I grew up in Kingston, so it was hosted at Queen's University and put on by engineering students. And so that was it. I was in grade 3, and that summer I went and experienced what it was like to study engineering through the eyes of these engineering students. And I mean, it was just so much fun. I can't even tell you what the activities were, the experiments that we did, but I just remember how much I loved the experience. And that's really important because when it comes to my journey, I did spend time reflecting back on times where I had those feelings of being really excited and wanting to do more, and that's what bubbled up for me was partly my time at Science Quest. So fast forward a few years, and I loved it so much. I went back in high school. I volunteered as a junior counselor. Fast forward a few more years, I ended up going to Queen's University to study chemical engineering. And of course, as an engineering student, I needed a job in the summer. So you can probably guess where I applied.
Yeah.
But yes, I did work as an instructor for Science Quest, and coincidentally met the now co-founder of Engineers of Tomorrow, Erica Lee Garcia. That's how we met.
I don't think I knew that. That's amazing.
So kind of neat how our stories have intertwined and now kind of come back full circle to doing the stuff that we both love when we were at Queen's. So anyways, I remember, again, reflecting back on my time when I was working at Science Quest during the summers. I remember that time being rejuvenating. You sort of spent September to May working really hard in engineering school. It is pretty grueling to get through that. And then connecting again with the things I loved about engineering in through the activities that we were doing, through the excitement from the kids. It's so contagious. And I remember having the thought, oh, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because it's just so much fun and I love it so much. And so from there, I graduated from chemical engineering. I moved into careers in manufacturing. So I spent some time working in food, and I spent a lot of time, more than a decade, I worked in pharmaceutical. I worked in manufacturing, and I worked on different project teams, and I learned so much. I am so grateful for the time that I spent in those environments. That's when I was also introduced to Lean Six Sigma, which I really love as well, and really appreciated the role models that I had and the lessons I learned and experience that I gained in my time working in that manufacturing environment. But then I had kids, and as is fairly common or typical, kids like to ask why. And so they were questioning me, "Mommy, why do you have to go to work? Why do you have to go to work?" And of course, at first you just know, well, this is just what they do. They just ask
Mhm.
you these questions, and a lot of times the questions don't mean anything, but they do have the effect of getting you thinking. And that's
Mhm.
what they definitely did for me, got me thinking about, why do I have to go to work? And
Mhm.
for me, that question really turned kind of internal. What what value am I providing? What is the kind of bigger picture impact that I'm able to connect to with the work that I'm doing? And I realized at that time, and my kids were still quite young, that I couldn't answer those questions very well. I struggled
Mhm.
to answer those questions. And so I just spent some time reflecting on myself, on what that means for me, and thinking about us as a family, and the opportunities that we have when our kids are these ages, and thinking about what's best for all of us. And so I did a few things in terms of looking at different resources to help me through this process.
Mm.
I did reach out to other women, other individuals that were doing things that to me seemed to be connecting more to the bigger picture meaning and impact of, or could be connecting
Mhm.
in these great ways. And that's when I reconnected up with Erica. And she had gone off her own separate way when she left Queen's Engineering.
Mhm.
And similar path to me, had spent a good amount of time working in different industries. And she was telling me all about this thing that she started called Engineers of Tomorrow. And I was really excited to hear about the work that she was doing, and it sounded really like a lot of fun, for one.
Right.
And I remembered and I reflected back on the time in my life, that time in grade 3 and those
Mhm.
summers at Science Quest, and the feelings that I had, the excitement and the joy that went along with it. And I thought, well, if I can get back there, then sign me up. And the thinking about what it meant for us as a family. We work remotely at Engineers of
Mhm.
Tomorrow, so there's a lot more flexibility for me to be available for my family and supporting them in that way. So it
Mhm.
just seemed to kind of check off all the boxes for me. And so together with my husband, I made the decision to pivot from this really traditional manufacturing path that definitely does have a lot of impact,
Mhm.
and can be rewarding, but pivot from that into the world of not-for-profits, and giving back in this new way, and stepping in to this leadership role in a new way. And another, I would say, side effect of that, or maybe factor that goes along with that decision, is um, going all the way back to my kids asking me, "Mommy, why do you have to go to work?" I feel now, in the role that I'm in, well, it's easy to answer that, but really they don't even really ask me that anymore, because they see, and they can feel the value that I am bringing. They can feel the passion that I
Mhm.
have, the excitement, the energy. So it's just not even a question. They
They
get
just
it. And
know.
yeah. So I'm grateful that I can be that kind of a role model for
Mhm.
them too.
That's
So that was
amazing.
a long-winded answer.
A very full and complete answer. Thank you.
All the way back to
Yeah.
grade 3.
And that's just it. Sometimes, you know, all of our journeys go back however far they go. And it, I don't know, I think it's really cool to just know, like, something happening in grade 3. And we've talked about that on other episodes of souls outside. YouTube seems to want to chime in on our conversation today. But it goes all the way back to childhood, which I think is a little bit almost, it's going to segue into our next section where you're going to share with us a little bit of why you dislike the question of what are you going to do with your life, which I know I've shared again on the podcast. We've talked about it a little bit. However, I'm really excited to dive into it with you because we both have very similar experiences with being asked that. So thanks for this section, and we'll come back in a few minutes to dive into that. All right, welcome back, everybody. So today we have with us again Rebecca White, who's the CEO of Engineers of Tomorrow. And as we started to sneak peek a little bit in our previous section, today we're going to hear her thoughts about what do you want to be when you grow up is a terrible question, and some of those suggestions on what we can be asking our children, ourselves, or anybody instead. So welcome back.
Yeah, thank you, Shannon. And it's interesting to me to hear feedback from others that connect to that idea or maybe react in the same way that I do when they hear that question.
Yeah, I think it was our first episode. I think I talked about it for like 2 minutes because it's so key to my journey too. So when you said that's one of the pieces you want to share today, I'm like, yes, more people. We need to change this question.
Yeah. And I mean, it's got a lot of history, right? This time of year especially, this is when school yearbooks go out, and you look at, they always seem to ask the kindergarten kids, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And it's always the same answers you see. It's like a firefighter or policeman or maybe a dentist or some sort of crazy answer like a dinosaur. I don't know. But I guess there's many different ways that we could do a better job of having a conversation around that question. I think when you ask the question in that way, what do you want to be when you grow up? You're going to get a one-word answer. And probably a very limited answer based on the immediate experience and exposure that particular person has had. They maybe even feel a little threatened by the question, like, oh, I should know. And maybe like there's some shame that goes along with it. Like, what if I don't know? It seems like they're asking me this question and I'm supposed to know the answer, but I don't really know. So I think there's a better way that we can do it. I think that we can look at it as an opportunity to open this conversation around our futures and our paths and what's available to us and how we're feeling about it. If we're feeling really maybe connected to a cause and a goal that we feel passionate about, that's amazing. Let's explore what that could look like for you. Maybe it does look like you're becoming a firefighter, or maybe it looks like you're the engineer that designs the equipment that firefighters use, or maybe you work on the fire trucks. Like, you can be involved in these different ways that all work together towards a common goal. So when we limit the response to a one-word answer, we're really just missing out on all these clues that can influence and guide our path. So a better question, sorry, my earbud just fell out.
We're just showing all our humanness today.
There we go. And it was the side with the mic too, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I think a better question that we can ask is, what's a problem that you see in the world that you think you want to help, or what's a way that you think you could help, or what's a challenge you think that we can overcome? And obviously, these will encourage much broader conversations, and you can obviously tailor your conversation to your audience. So if you're talking to a 10-year-old, when you're asking them this, they're not going to be connected to necessarily to big scale world problems like solving climate change. Their problem might be, my Xbox keeps turning off on its own all the time, and I just want to create a gaming system that never does that. Okay, great. Let's talk about that. That's a problem that is affecting your world, and there's a whole industry built around it. And so, it's just a great way to get them curious, get them asking why and what's possible, instead of just thinking there's one right answer. I could talk for hours about questions that I don't know. Yeah, that's kind of that's been my experience with it. I know I have had the same kind of reaction you did. I saw you put up your hand, like that sense of shame of like, oh, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. What's wrong with me? Why don't I know that? That's part of the reason I decided to study engineering, because I knew it was something that could be broad and I would have a lot of choices so that I could figure those things out. And then the other part of it, Shannon, is who knows what kind of jobs are going to exist, right? In like 5-10 years, who knows? They're going to be different. And there's all kinds of stats and data that tell us that these jobs that the kids that our next generation are going to have, they don't even exist yet. So why are we even asking the question?
And that's, I talk with a lot of young people as well, just like you do. And often a question I get is should I choose a job because it'll make good money or because I like it? And especially with what we've just gone through as a world with COVID, like some of the jobs people were lining themselves up to go disappeared. Yeah. And the jobs that are most critical, like people working in grocery stores are one of our frontline workers, like most critical people, because they're getting me my food. Yeah. Yes, healthcare workers are helping it safe, but just the dynamic of the jobs that are important has shifted. There's never know.
No certainty. And another lens or frame that I have found has really helped me and helped me just think about it in a different way is if there is a goal you want to work towards or something that you do feel connected to, let's say your goal is to become an engineer, just for the since that's our experience, that if that's your goal, the better question to ask yourself is, are you willing to welcome the problems that go along with that into your life? So there's, it's sort of taking that thinking and spinning it on its head. So yes, you could say, I want to make a lot of money. That's my goal. I want to be very financially successful or maybe stable. But are you willing to deal with all because there will be problems. There's always going to be problems that go along with any goal that you set. You might have to give things up. If you're thinking about becoming an engineer, I already talked about the hard work of, getting through engineering school. Like you're going to have to be maybe giving up some of your social life that you see your friends going with. You're going to have to work really hard. You're going to have to deal with a lot of stuff. So are you willing? Is it worth it? Maybe is a good way to say it. Is it worth it to put yourself through those challenges, those problems to get towards that end goal? And I think that's really helpful in terms of motivation and staying connected to those bigger picture impact and meaning, and being open to just the idea that it doesn't have to be one thing that you're working towards as well, right? Just working towards having an impact in some way.
Yeah. Perfect. Beautiful. Thank you so much for adding to and exploring this topic with us. Sharing your journey in general. I always love hearing the different twists and turns people take. And definitely everyone listening, watching, what problem are you going to solve? I think that's just a beautiful question to focus on. So thank you, Rebecca, for joining us today. If Rebecca's story has sparked your interest or you want to know more about how to follow in her soul prints, definitely reach out to her. I know she's always happy to have a chat and help people, especially with navigating their direction, whether it's engineering or not, what problem you want to solve. And thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Shannon.
Thank you for joining us today on Souls Outside, and we hope you enjoyed walking in our featured guest soul prints as much as we did. As always, we like to wrap up each episode with our extreme gratitude and appreciation for our founding sponsors who quite literally made it possible for Souls Outside to become a reality. First off, special thanks goes to Etche Savas and her company Palindrome Design for the amazing cover art, and noting that their sponsorship comes in support of their passion project, Self-Build Sustainable. We'd also like to thank Chuck Henry for his amazing music, original music, that is featured throughout the episode. And of course, Elise Cannon, our amazing editor, who quite literally made it possible for any of these episodes to see the light of day. They probably would still be on a hard drive on my computer without her expertise, skill, and passion for editing. So we thank them so much. And until next time, we hope you enjoy your journey and continue following in the soul prints of those who have gone before.
Hey, one last thing before you go. If you wish you could talk about this episode with myself, our featured guest, or other like-minded individuals like yourself, join us on Facebook or LinkedIn in our Souls Outside Facebook and LinkedIn groups. On Facebook, we do watch parties. On both, we have awesome conversations about what we talked about and are able to answer your questions on how you can go even further on your soul print journey. See you there.